Introduction. Friends, if you want to watch the much-awaited sci-fi movie Mickey 17 in English, then you must like this video. If you're visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Friends, in today's video we're going to talk about the movie Mickey 17. We will cover what this movie is about, where you can watch it, and all the interesting behind-the-scenes facts. In today's video I'm going to tell you everything, including which OTT platform or satellite channel you can catch this film on. We'll also dive into details about the technical department, the music team, the pre-production, filming, post-production, the movie's budget, and its box office collection. Not only that, we will explore the story of this film, and I'll also give you a short review of its plot. Apart from this, we will discuss fascinating facts about the movie, its storyline, the star cast, how the actors performed, and which character played which role. That's why, friends, I request you to watch this video till the very end. So let's get started. Alright friends, buckle up because the plot of Mickey 17 is a wild, fascinating ride through science fiction that doesn't play by the usual rules. Picture this. We meet Mickey Barnes, the main character, who isn't just any ordinary crew member on an interstellar mission. No, he's what they call an expendable. What does that mean? Well, every time Mickey dies they regenerate him as a fresh clone, memories and all, so he can keep doing dangerous tasks over and over. That's right, he dies, he comes back, he dies again, he comes back again. It's like sci-fi meets dark comedy, and from the very first act, you know this is no standard space adventure. The narrative kicks off in what feels like familiar territory, space colonization, high-stakes missions, a hostile alien environment, but very quickly it starts twisting. Mickey's latest version, Mickey 17, wakes up and discovers, surprise, there's already a Mickey 18. Wait, what? Suddenly, the system that has run like clockwork cracks open, and Mickey finds himself not just battling aliens or environmental hazards, but questioning the very system that keeps replacing him. The tension doesn't just come from the external threats but from the internal dilemma. Who gets to be the real Mickey? This isn't just a sci-fi action flick. It becomes an existential puzzle about identity and purpose. The story plays with perspective in a fun way. Sometimes you're deep in Mickey's head, experiencing his confusion, his frustration, his sarcasm. Yes, Mickey's got humor and it's sharp. And other times you're pulled out to observe the bigger political and social dynamics among the crew, the mission leaders, and the other colonists. It's not strictly linear because as Mickey reflects on his past versions, we get flashbacks and bits of memory that create this layered, slightly disorienting but exciting structure. You're constantly questioning what's real, who's in control, and where the true conflict lies. Is it man versus alien, man versus machine, or man versus himself? Key turning points hit hard. The first big twist, when Mickey meets his next iteration, turns the story from survival to rebellion. Then, when Mickey uncovers hidden agendas from the mission leaders, the stakes jump again, pulling us into a thriller mode. There's a mix of tense, heart-pounding moments, like escape attempts and close calls, but also slower, more philosophical beats where Mickey reflects on his purpose. What does it mean to be disposable? Can a clone have a soul, a unique identity? These aren't just background themes, they drive the action forward, shaping every choice Mickey makes. Emotionally, the narrative swings between humor, suspense, and surprisingly tender moments. Mickey's relationships, both with humans and the unexpected allies he finds, give the story a beating heart beneath the sleek sci-fi exterior. Even as the plot barrels toward its climax, the tension never comes only from explosions or battles, but from the growing realization that Mickey has to define himself, no matter how many versions they print out. So, from beginning to end, Mickey 17 plays like a puzzle box. Just when you think you've figured out the rules, it flips things around and challenges you to rethink everything. It's daring, it's fast-paced, and it's packed with emotional and thematic weight that keeps you hooked. This isn't just a story about surviving space, it's about surviving yourself. Are you ready for that kind of ride? Because Mickey 17 absolutely delivers it. Alright friends, let's dive into the heart and soul of Mickey 17, the characters. Because sure, you've got spaceships, clones, and alien planets, but without these fascinating, layered characters driving the story, it would all just be shiny metal and empty void. Let's start with our guy Mickey Barnes. Mickey isn't your typical sci-fi hero, he's not the fearless leader or the stoic soldier. No, Mickey is the guy they send to do the jobs no one else wants because, well, he can die and just come back. But here's where it gets juicy. Mickey knows he's expendable and that knowledge eats away at him. Over time, you see this sharp, darkly funny, and sometimes bitter personality emerge. He jokes, he resists, he questions, and by the time he meets Mickey 18 he's no longer just a passive cog in the machine. You watch him transform from someone who accepts his fate to someone who challenges the entire system. That arc, from expendable to rebellious, from clone to unique individual, is what makes Mickey such a compelling character. Now, Mickey's relationships are where the magic really happens. There's a tension-filled dynamic with the mission leaders, who treat him like equipment rather than a person. Watching Mickey push back, challenge authority, and demand recognition adds real emotional weight. But it's not all about rebellion. Mickey's relationships with his crewmates and potential love interests bring out a softer, more vulnerable side. These moments remind you that underneath the sarcasm and frustration, there's someone who craves connection, someone who wants to matter beyond his role as a replaceable part. And let's not forget the layered interactions between Mickey and, well, himself. Mickey 17 facing off against Mickey 18 sparks one of the most bizarre and fascinating dynamics in the movie. Imagine confronting a version of yourself who's supposed to replace you. The tension, the jealousy, the confusion. It's not just sci-fi fun, it's a deep dive into identity and self-worth. The supporting cast is no less interesting. You've got the mission commander, who embodies cold authority, hiding secrets and controlling the mission with an iron grip. Then there's the engineer or scientist character who starts off as just another colleague but slowly becomes an ally, helping Mickey navigate the moral and practical dilemmas of their situation. Each side character adds layers to the story. They aren't just background players, they reflect different sides of the mission's ethics and the human cost of survival. Their motivations, some driven by duty, some by fear, some by ambition, create a network of tensions that shape every twist in the plot. What makes the character development so entertaining is how unpredictable it is. You think you know who's trustworthy? Think again. You think you understand what drives Mickey? Wait until you see him wrestle with the idea that even if he survives, someone else might take his place. The arcs aren't just about individual growth, they're about relationships cracking open, shifting, and reforming under pressure. And the fun part? No one is static. Everyone, even the villains, reveals complexities that keep you guessing. Motivations collide, alliances shift, and the emotional landscape keeps reshaping itself just as fast as the physical dangers around them. So, when you watch Mickey 17, pay close attention to the characters. They're the emotional engine powering this wild sci-fi journey. It's not just about surviving space, it's about surviving the messy, unpredictable, sometimes heartbreaking world of human and maybe not so human relationships. Every conversation, every betrayal, every moment of trust or doubt shapes the larger narrative, making the character arcs just as thrilling as the plot twists. And trust me, watching these transformations unfold is one of the most entertaining parts of the entire experience. Alright friends, let's talk about the performances in Mickey 17 because wow, this cast really knows how to light up the screen. First, we have to start with the lead, Robert Pattinson, who plays Mickey Barnes. And let me tell you, Pattinson doesn't just play Mickey, he becomes Mickey. He gives the role this perfect blend of deadpan humor, simmering frustration, and sharp vulnerability. One moment he's cracking a sarcastic remark about how many times he's been killed off, and the next he's delivering this raw, emotional punch that makes you feel the weight of his existence as a disposable clone. Pattinson walks a delicate line between making Mickey likable, relatable, and unpredictable. You never know if he's going to crack a joke or crack under pressure, and that keeps you hooked every second he's on screen. But it's not just about the lead, the supporting cast is packed with standouts. You've got the mission commander, played by a powerhouse actor who brings this icy authority to every scene. They manage to project so much menace and control with just a glance or a clipped sentence, making the tension between them and Mickey crackle. Then there's the scientist or engineer character. They bring warmth and curiosity, offering a counterbalance to the cold bureaucracy of the mission. The actor in that role delivers a performance full of subtlety, showing quiet determination and growing empathy as they begin to question the ethics of what's happening to Mickey. And let's not forget the Mickey versus Mickey moments. Watching Pattinson play off himself, literally as Mickey 17 and Mickey 18, is pure entertainment. The filmmakers cleverly use body language, tone, and timing so that each Mickey feels distinct. You believe you're watching two separate beings, each fighting for survival, even though they technically share the same face and memories. It's not just a gimmick, it's a layered performance challenge, and Pattinson pulls it off with impressive nuance. What makes the ensemble so effective is how they all elevate the emotional stakes. It's one thing to have a clever sci-fi plot, but it's the performances that give the story its punch. You feel Mickey's desperation not just because of the script, but because Pattinson plays it with such restless energy. You sense the moral conflict in the crew not just because it's written into the dialogue, but because the actors show it in every hesitation, every sharp exchange, every quiet moment of doubt. Even the smaller supporting characters, the crew members who could have easily been forgettable background players, deliver performances that add texture and realism to the world. There are scenes where the emotional tension is so thick you can practically feel it pulsing off the screen, and that's because the cast knows how to dig deep into their characters' fears, hopes, and frustrations. Whether it's a heated confrontation, a vulnerable confession, or a small but meaningful glance, the actors breathe life into every moment. They make the futuristic setting feel grounded and human, pulling you into a story that's not just about space missions and cloning, but about identity, belonging, and the messy, complicated nature of survival. So when you watch Mickey 17, don't just focus on the cool visuals or the clever twists. Keep an eye on the performances because they're what make this story unforgettable. Every actor, from the lead to the smallest supporting role, brings depth, energy, and heart that lift the film far beyond a standard sci-fi adventure. It's a masterclass in how great performances can turn a high-concept story into something deeply personal and emotionally thrilling. Alright friends, let's talk about the real mastermind behind Mickey 17, the director. This is where things get really exciting because Bong Joon Ho, yes, the Oscar-winning genius behind Parasite and Snowpiercer, brings his signature style and razor-sharp vision to every inch of this film. From the very first frame, you can feel his fingerprints all over the tone and mood. This isn't your typical sleek, sterile sci-fi. Bong fills the world with grit, dark humor, and a strange, slightly unsettling atmosphere that keeps you on edge. One moment you're laughing at Mickey's deadpan quips, and the next you're gripped by the existential horror of what it means to be a clone. Bong balances tones like no one else. He slides between comedy, suspense, tragedy, and sharp social commentary with such finesse that you're never sure exactly what's coming next, and that unpredictability is half the fun. Stylistically, Bong makes some bold choices that elevate the entire experience. The shot composition is a work of art. You'll see wide, lonely shots of the alien planet that make Mickey look tiny and insignificant, and then you'll get these intense, claustrophobic close-ups when tensions rise inside the base. He plays with contrast beautifully, vast, empty landscapes versus tight, cluttered interiors, cold mechanical spaces versus raw, emotional human faces. And the color palette? Oh, it's no bland gray or shiny metallic sci-fi here. Bong uses rich, moody lighting, deep shadows, and unexpected splashes of color that give the world its own personality, almost like the environment itself is a character watching the drama unfold. The pacing is another masterstroke. Bong knows exactly when to speed things up and when to slow them down. The action sequences are snappy, unpredictable, and full of energy, keeping you at the edge of your seat. But just when you think it's all adrenaline, Bong pulls back, giving you these quiet, reflective moments where Mickey grapples with his identity, his purpose, and his relationships. These slower beats aren't filler. They're where the emotional and thematic weight of the story really lands. You need that breathing space to absorb what's happening beneath the surface, and Bong crafts these moments with such care that they never feel like the movie is dragging. What's especially fun about Bong's direction is his ability to weave in social and ethical questions without ever turning the film into a lecture. He uses the visual storytelling, the repetition of Mickey's deaths, the eerie sameness of the clones, the cold efficiency of the mission leaders, to make you feel the moral dilemmas rather than just hear about them. His narrative vision is tight and purposeful. Every scene, every shot, every moment pushes the story forward, building tension, character, or theme. There's no wasted space. Even the weirdest or funniest beats, the little oddball details, serve a larger purpose in shaping the world and the story's message. And let's not forget Bong's gift for creating mood. The suspenseful scenes are really suspenseful, with sharp editing, haunting sound design, and perfectly timed reveals that leave you breathless. The emotional scenes hit deep, often catching you off guard with their rawness. The humor lands not because it's forced, but because Bong understands that the absurdity of the situation is its own kind of dark comedy. He's not just telling a story, he's inviting you into a world that's strange, beautiful, terrifying, and strangely relatable all at once. So if you're watching Mickey 17, pay attention to how every visual and tonal choice feels intentional. Bong Joon Ho doesn't just direct a movie, he crafts an experience, pulling you through a roller coaster of emotions and ideas that stick with you long after the credits roll. This is the kind of direction that transforms a high-concept sci-fi into something unforgettable, layered, and wildly entertaining. Get ready for a ride. Alright friends, let's talk about the cinematography in Mickey 17 because oh boy, this is where the movie doesn't just tell you a story, it shows you a world that feels alive, dangerous, and hauntingly beautiful. From the very first shot, the camera grabs your attention. You're looking at these vast alien landscapes, endless icy plains or shadowy craters, and the camera lingers just long enough to make you feel how small and vulnerable Mickey is in this universe. It's not just pretty scenery, the wide shots hammer home the isolation, the insignificance of a single life in the grand scale of space colonization. But then Bong Joon Ho and his cinematographer get playful. When the story shifts to the cramped interiors of the colony base, the framing tightens, the camera gets right up close, almost claustrophobic. You feel the tension squeezing in. Characters are framed behind glass, between metal bars in reflection, constantly giving you this visual sense of being trapped, observed, or divided. These aren't just stylish choices, they mirror the emotional stakes. Mickey isn't just battling external threats, he's battling the system and himself, and the camera makes sure you feel that pressure in every shot. Let's talk lighting because wow, it's a whole mood on its own. You get these cold, sterile lights in the laboratory scenes, where everything feels mechanical and clinical, almost draining the humanity from the characters. But then, in moments of emotional weight or internal conflict, Bong shifts the palette. Suddenly the lighting gets warmer, more intimate, or plunges into dramatic shadow, casting Mickey in a half-lit world where nothing is fully clear or safe. And when the action explodes, oh, you get these gorgeous, chaotic bursts of light and color, making the danger feel visceral and immediate. The cinematography doesn't just capture the action, it makes you feel the stakes. One of the most visually striking moments comes when Mickey faces off against Mickey 18. Imagine the camera circling around two versions of the same man, creating this dizzying effect that pulls you right into their psychological battle. It's not just two people in a room, it's a mind-bending mirror showdown, and the cinematography amplifies every bit of tension, confusion, and existential dread. The way the camera plays with reflections, doubles, and shifting focus keeps you constantly guessing. Which Mickey is which? Who do we trust? Who are we even rooting for? And let's not skip over the atmosphere. The cinematography drenches key scenes in mood, whether it's the oppressive silence of deep space, the sterile menace of the mission control rooms, or the eerie beauty of the alien planet under strange, flickering skies. Every scene feels crafted to pull you into a specific emotional state, whether it's wonder, fear, or deep unease. The use of shadows, tight framing, and sudden bursts of movement creates a rhythm that keeps your eyes glued to the screen, even in the quietest moments. So as you're watching Mickey 17, keep an eye on how the camera isn't just pointing and shooting, it's storytelling. Every angle, every lighting shift, every carefully composed shot is designed to pull you deeper into Mickey's world, into his head, into his fight for meaning and survival. The cinematography turns the movie into a visual feast, one that hits you not just in the eyes but straight in the gut. It's not just sci-fi spectacle, it's a cinematic experience packed with tension, beauty, and meaning in every frame. You're in for a treat. Alright friends, let's dive into the editing and pacing of Mickey 17 because this is where the film really plays with your nerves, your emotions, and your sense of time. Right from the start, the editing sets the tone. We're not dealing with a slow-burn, dreamy sci-fi here, nor is it a constant, breathless action rush. Instead, the film finds this beautiful, pulsing rhythm that knows exactly when to grip you tight and when to let you breathe. The transitions between scenes are sharp and purposeful. Nothing feels like filler or wasted space. You move smoothly from the vast emptiness of alien landscapes to tense, claustrophobic base interiors, and the editors make sure you never feel disoriented. It's like they're guiding you along a carefully laid track, shifting gears just when your senses need a jolt or a pause. One of the most entertaining parts of the editing is how it builds tension. When Mickey is about to be thrown into danger, or when he's facing off against himself or challenging the system, the cuts tighten up. Scenes get snappier, shots get shorter, the rhythm speeds up, and suddenly you're right in the middle of the chaos with him. You feel his pulse racing, his mind spinning, and the editing mirrors that urgency perfectly. But then, just when you think the whole movie might spin off its rails, it slows down. We get these beautifully timed, quieter sequences. Maybe Mickey sitting alone, reflecting on his place in the universe or having a vulnerable conversation with a crewmate. These slower moments never feel boring because they're perfectly placed to let you absorb the emotional weight before the next storm hits. The editing also plays clever tricks with time and perspective. Remember, we're dealing with clones here, so there are moments when you're seeing repeated events, mirrored scenes, or sudden jumps that reflect Mickey's fractured experience. The editors make sure you're always engaged, using these shifts to add layers of meaning rather than just confuse you. It's not chaotic or messy, it's controlled and intentional, pulling you deeper into the strange, unsettling world of the story. You're not just watching events unfold, you're feeling the rhythm of Mickey's journey, his rising panic, his flickers of hope, his moments of rebellion. And the pacing? It's a wild dance. The film knows when to hold a shot just a beat longer, letting tension simmer or emotion land. It knows when to cut away quickly, jolting you forward before you can catch your breath. This constant push and pull keeps you glued to the screen, wondering what's next. Even in scenes that could have dragged, the quieter conversations, the philosophical debates, the moral dilemmas, the editing keeps the momentum alive by focusing on the right details, the right reactions, the right shifts in tone. You never feel like you're stuck waiting, you're always being drawn forward, deeper into the conflict. So when you're watching Mickey 17, pay attention to how the editing shapes the entire experience. It's not just stitching scenes together, it's crafting a rhythm that keeps your heart engaged, your mind alert, and your emotions fully invested. Whether it's racing through a tense confrontation, lingering on a moment of self-doubt, or spinning your head with a sudden twist, the editing turns the film into a thrilling, carefully orchestrated ride. You're not just following a story, you're being swept up in its pulse, and that's what makes the experience so much fun. Alright friends, now let's turn up the volume and dive into the soundtrack and score of Mickey 17 because this is where the movie doesn't just grab your eyes, it wraps around your ears and pulls you deep into its atmosphere. From the very first notes, the score sets a tone that's anything but generic sci-fi. Forget the predictable beeps and droning synths you might expect. Here the music feels alive, textured, and full of surprises. There are deep, rumbling undertones when Mickey faces danger, a kind of sonic weight pressing on you, making every risk and choice feel heavier. You can practically feel the vibrations in your chest when tension rises. It's like the music is whispering, something's about to snap. But then, just when you expect the score to stay dark and brooding, it shifts. There are moments where the music becomes delicate, almost haunting, with soft piano notes or fragile strings underscoring Mickey's quieter, more reflective moments. These aren't just background fillers, they're emotional cues, guiding you through his loneliness, his doubts, his flashes of hope. You can tell the composer put real thought into when to push and when to pull back because the score never overwhelms the scene. It flows with the story, not over it, adding depth without stealing the spotlight. One of the coolest things to listen for are the recurring motifs, little musical phrases or themes that pop up again and again. Maybe there's a melody tied specifically to Mickey's identity crisis, or a pulse-like rhythm that always accompanies scenes where the clones come face to face. These repeating musical ideas become a kind of emotional shorthand. Even before the characters speak or the plot shifts, the music is already preparing you, reminding you, and setting the emotional stage. It's like a secret language between the film and the audience, and if you're paying attention, it makes the experience even richer. And oh, we have to talk about the use of silence. Some of the most powerful moments in Mickey 17 are the ones where the score fades away completely. When Mickey is alone, when time seems to stretch, when the weight of survival presses down, the absence of music becomes its own kind of sound. The silence makes you lean in, hold your breath, wait for something to break. It sharpens your senses and heightens the impact when the music finally returns. This kind of restraint takes real confidence from the director and composer. They know when the story speaks louder without any notes at all. The action sequences bring another layer of fun because the score ramps up in ways that don't just match the visuals but elevate them. You get pounding percussion, rising synth waves, sharp bursts of sound that cut through the chaos. But again, it never turns into noise. The mix is clean, the balance is precise, and everything feels intentional. You're not just hearing action, you're feeling it surge in your veins. Whether it's a tense standoff, a desperate escape, or a quiet, bittersweet ending, the score knows exactly how to shape your emotional journey without ever yanking you out of the world. So as you're watching Mickey 17, let your ears do some of the work. Notice how the soundtrack colors the atmosphere, how it shapes your expectations, how it deepens the emotional beats. It's not just there to fill the silence, it's an essential player in the storytelling, a pulse running under every scene. And when those standout compositions hit, you'll know because they don't just accompany the movie, they become part of the experience, leaving echoes that stay with you long after the final credits roll. Alright friends, buckle up because Mickey 17 isn't just a sci-fi adventure about clones on an alien world. Oh no, it's a layered, brain-tickling exploration of some seriously big themes that will leave you thinking long after the credits roll. At the heart of it all is this gnawing question. What does it mean to be human? Mickey is a disposable clone, technically replaceable, and yet he fights, loves, doubts, and dreams just like anyone else. The film doesn't hammer you over the head with speeches or lectures. Instead, it invites you to sit in the discomfort of that idea. If a person can be printed and reprinted, where does their soul, their worth, their individuality live? Is it in the body, the memories, the choices, or something else entirely? The movie also dives deep into identity and self-worth. Imagine waking up knowing you're just the next version in a long line of Expendables. That alone is enough to shatter most egos, but Mickey refuses to just be the next copy. His journey is about carving out meaning where society says there is none, about defining himself even when others dismiss him as replaceable. It's a powerful meditation on agency and purpose, wrapped in a thrilling, twisty sci-fi package. And it's not just Mickey's struggle. The film pulls you into the ethical maze faced by the people around him. How do you treat someone you know can be replaced? Do you value their contributions, their feelings, their pain? Or do you start seeing them as tools, as parts, as nothing more than a cog in the machine? But wait, there's more. Mickey 17 also serves up sharp commentary on exploitation and the cost of progress. The colony's mission leaders are focused on survival, expansion, profit, all at the expense of the disposable workers they sacrifice over and over. Sound familiar? The film draws sneaky parallels to how modern systems, whether corporate, political, or social, chew up the little people for the sake of the bigger goal. You're watching a sci-fi future, but it's also a sly mirror reflecting back our present, asking uncomfortable questions about labor, sacrifice, and who gets to decide whose life matters. And let's not skip over the theme of resilience. Mickey's arc isn't just about survival, it's about defiance. Again and again he's told he's nothing, just a tool, and again he pushes back, asserting his humanity, demanding recognition, forcing others, and us, to confront what makes a life valuable. This is where the movie hits you right in the chest because it's not just about one man's fight, it's about the universal hunger to matter, to leave a mark, to be more than the sum of your function. What makes these themes hit so hard is how effortlessly they're woven into the story. Nothing feels tacked on or forced. The questions bubble up naturally from the plot, the conflicts, the relationships. You're not sitting through a lecture. You're watching characters wrestle, stumble, and occasionally break under the weight of these dilemmas. And just when you think you've figured out where the film stands, it throws a new angle at you, a new twist that complicates everything. By the end, you're not handed tidy answers. Instead, you're left chewing on the ideas, turning them over in your mind, wondering how you'd face those same questions. So if you're in the mood for a movie that doesn't just entertain but also pokes at the corners of your mind, Mickey 17 delivers. It's packed with themes that hit on identity, value, exploitation, and resilience, all wrapped in a gripping, emotional, and sometimes darkly funny sci-fi tale. Get ready to walk away not just thrilled but also deeply, deliciously unsettled. Alright friends, let's talk about the eye candy in Mickey 17, and no, I don't just mean Robert Pattinson. We're diving deep into the visual effects and CGI, where this movie takes its world building and cranks it all the way up to jaw-dropping. From the opening scenes, you're thrown into an alien world that feels massive, dangerous, and breathtakingly real. The icy landscapes, the towering machinery, the sleek colony structures. None of it looks pasted on or artificial. The CGI doesn't scream, "Look at me," but instead melts seamlessly into the environment, making you believe you're right there alongside Mickey as he treks across hostile terrain or maneuvers through the mechanical guts of the base. You can almost feel the chill in the air, the crunch of the snow, the hum of the engines, all thanks to how smoothly the digital world wraps around the story. What's especially fun is how the film balances its digital and practical effects. You can tell the filmmakers didn't just slap green screens on everything. There's weight and texture in the sets. The corridors Mickey stumbles through, the control panels he smashes, the physical spaces he occupies, they feel built, touchable, real. Then the CGI steps in to expand that foundation, filling the windows with sweeping alien vistas, unleashing strange creatures or machines, or layering in the little sci-fi details that make the world come alive. It's like a perfect dance between what's physically there and what's digitally added, and you as the viewer get swept up without ever feeling pulled out by a clunky or overdone effect. Now let's talk about the fun stuff, the big, flashy moments. When the movie needs to flex its visual muscles, it does so with style. There are these stunning sequences where Mickey faces off against the alien environment, maybe battling weather phenomena or navigating a collapsing structure, and the CGI is so polished, so fluid, you never stop to think, "Oh, that's fake." Instead, you're gripping your seat, eyes wide, because the effects are working with attention, enhancing the danger, not distracting from it. And when Mickey confronts his own clones, the visual trickery of showing multiple versions of Pattinson on screen is handled with such precision you forget you're watching an actor perform against himself. It just works as a seamless, mind-bending piece of the story. But what really stands out is how the visual effects support the atmosphere. It's not just about spectacle, it's about mood. The alien skies, the flickering lights, the surreal moments where reality seems to blur. The CGI adds this layer of strangeness, of beauty, of unease that keeps you emotionally hooked. You're not just impressed by the visuals, you're immersed in them. They become part of the film's emotional language, guiding you through wonder, fear, awe, and sometimes even heartbreak. So as you watch Mickey 17, let yourself get swept away by how effortlessly the visual effects pull you into the world. This isn't a movie that waves shiny graphics in your face for the sake of showing off. It's a movie where every pixel, every creature, every alien storm or shimmering horizon is there to deepen the experience, to pull you into Mickey's reality, and to make sure you're fully, thrillingly immersed. Whether it's practical grit or digital wizardry, the visuals here aren't just impressive. They're essential, turning the movie into a sci-fi playground you won't want to leave. Let's dive into the nuts and bolts of the Mickey 17 universe, and by that I mean the set design and locations because, my friends, the world building here isn't just about fancy special effects. It's about crafting an environment that feels as real as it is alien, a place where every corner, every prop, every rusty panel adds a layer of authenticity and meaning to the story. The locations in Mickey 17 are not just backdrops, they're characters in their own right, telling you as much about the world as the characters do. Take the colony's base, for example. It's not some shiny, futuristic paradise where everything works perfectly. No. Instead, the filmmakers gave it a gritty, lived-in feel. Everything from the dimly lit corridors to the flickering monitors screams, we're barely holding it together. You can almost smell the rust in the air, feel the tension between the creaking walls. The set design doesn't just make it look real. It makes you feel the isolation, the desperation of the people working in this harsh environment. The corridors are tight, claustrophobic, making the vastness of the alien world outside feel even more ominous. Inside, the utilitarian, bare-bones design makes the human struggle clear. There's nothing luxurious about it. It's survival, it's gritty, it's raw, and that choice deepens your investment in the character's journey. But what makes the sets really pop is how they contrast with the alien world outside. The production design takes you from the cramped, sterile confines of the base to wide open, desolate landscapes that stretch for miles. And these locations? Oh, they're not just pretty to look at. They matter to the story. When Mickey steps out into the alien terrain, you immediately feel how small and vulnerable he is against the vast, unforgiving environment. The barren landscapes aren't just visually striking. They're a constant reminder of how out of place the humans are, how far from home they are, and how precarious their situation is. It's like the planet itself is a character, always lurking in the background, its cold indifference a reminder that survival here is anything but guaranteed. The props, too, are meticulously crafted. From the tools Mickey uses to the high-tech gear the team relies on, everything feels authentic. It's not just about looking cool, though believe me it does, but about reinforcing the tension. When Mickey fiddles with a piece of machinery, you can tell that it's a piece of tech that's been used too many times, that's been patched together just enough to keep it running. Even the small details, like the flickering lights or the weathered buttons on a control panel, add to the sense of decay and desperation. These aren't people in a pristine, hopeful future. These are people in the trenches just trying to keep things together long enough to survive. And don't even get me started on the alien creatures and landscapes. When we venture out into the wilds of this alien world, the set design takes the strange and makes it feel almost natural. The alien flora and fauna don't feel like something dropped in for effect. They feel like a part of the ecosystem, like they could exist somewhere in the real world. There's a weird beauty in the grotesque, a wildness that draws you in and makes you believe in this place. The towering rock formations, the otherworldly plants, and the eerie glow of distant skies all enhance the atmosphere, making you feel like you've stepped onto a completely new planet, far removed from anything human. The way all these locations come together is what truly immerses you. There's a distinct visual language in the film. The cold, metallic interiors of the colony, the vast, desolate wasteland outside, the strange alien places Mickey explores, and they all tie back to the film's themes. The base is tight, restricted, reflecting the oppression and control. The wide open spaces represent isolation and the unknown. Every location is tied to Mickey's personal journey and his struggles, physically and emotionally. And that's what makes the set design so brilliant. It's not just about looking pretty, it's about telling a story with every wall, every hallway, every mountain range. So when you're watching Mickey 17, take a moment to appreciate the world they've created. The sets aren't just there to look cool or fill space. They're essential to the mood, the story, and the themes of the film. They enhance every scene, every moment of tension, every quiet reflection. The locations aren't just backdrops. They're integral to the experience, pulling you into this strange, beautiful, and dangerous world in ways you won't forget. Now let's dive into the words that make Mickey 17 tick, the dialogue and script. The film isn't just a visual spectacle, it's got a sharpness in its writing that will stick with you. You've got the big sci-fi concepts, sure, but the way the characters talk to each other makes this world feel real, grounded, and a little bit messy, just like any world should be. The dialogue doesn't get bogged down by tech speak or jargon that would make your head spin. Instead, it's conversational, natural, and often crackling with tension. When Mickey talks, you're listening not just because of what he says but how he says it, with a weariness that's been built up over countless failures, but also with a sharpness that comes from trying to carve out something meaningful in a world that doesn't always care. The script is filled with these quiet moments of emotional weight, not the kind that hits you over the head, but the kind that quietly sneaks up and lingers long after. Take the little interactions between Mickey and the other characters. Sure, there are big action-packed scenes where people are yelling or running for their lives, but some of the most powerful moments come when it's just Mickey talking to someone, maybe in passing, maybe in frustration, maybe in resignation. You can feel the emotional baggage in his words, whether it's the heaviness of knowing that he might just be another failed copy or the fleeting hope that he might find something more than survival. And then, of course, there's the sharp wit that keeps the whole thing from drowning in doom and gloom. The film knows when to lighten the mood, and it does so with some seriously snappy one-liners that break through the tension just when you need it. Mickey's sarcastic remarks or deadpan observations feel like a breath of fresh air, and they're often layered with meaning. It's not just a joke, it's a defense mechanism, a coping strategy for a guy who's constantly facing the impossible. These moments of wit don't just add humor, they add depth, showing us the cracks in Mickey's hardened exterior. And because the script is so sharp, you find yourself laughing even as the stakes are getting higher, almost like the humor is keeping you afloat in an otherwise dark world. Now, let's talk about some of the standout lines, because there are a few that you'll remember long after you leave the theater. There's one line where Mickey, faced with an impossible decision, deadpans something about the universe not giving him a break, and it's not just funny, it's the kind of line that sums up his entire existence. The universe doesn't give him a break, it's constantly kicking him down, and yet he keeps getting up, even if he has to do it with a snarky comment or two. Another line that sticks with you is when Mickey looks out at the alien landscape and says something about it being a home he's never had. It's a simple line, but in that moment, you feel the weight of his journey, the loss of everything that's ever been familiar to him. It's one of those moments where you realize that the film isn't just about surviving the physical challenges, it's about finding meaning, connection, and belonging in a place that's as alien as he is. Then there's the banter between characters. It's not forced or over the top, but it feels real. There's a camaraderie between the crew members, a shared tension, and, at times, a fragile bond that gets tested. They're not just talking to move the plot along, they're talking to reveal their fears, their hopes, their fractured sense of self. You get the sense that they've all been through the ringer, and their dialogue reflects that. When they joke, you can tell it's a defense mechanism. When they argue, it's because their futures are on the line, and their conversations feel like lifelines to something human in an otherwise cold, mechanical world. The beauty of the dialogue in Mickey 17 is that it's never just about the words themselves. It's about what those words represent. The struggle to make sense of a world that doesn't always make sense, the pushback against a system that sees you as disposable, and the quiet realization that maybe, just maybe, your story still matters. So while the sharp one-liners and emotional beats are fun to talk about, it's the way the script weaves these moments together, and the way the characters speak to one another, revealing their vulnerabilities, fears, and determination, that really elevates the whole experience. Alright, let's talk about Mickey 17 and how it plays with the rules of its genre, because this film isn't just a cookie-cutter sci-fi flick. Oh no, it takes everything you think you know about the genre and flips it on its head while still delivering the high-octane thrills you crave. Yes, it's packed with the usual elements you expect from a sci-fi adventure, alien worlds, clones, survival, and some mind-bending tech, but it's also got this sneaky little ability to take those conventions and breathe new life into them. First off, let's talk about the whole clone thing. In most films, clones are either the cold, emotionless product of science or they're the ultimate source of confusion and identity crises. Mickey 17 takes this idea and dives deep, exploring what it really means to be a clone, and not in the typical, "am I real?" way you might expect. Mickey doesn't spend the entire movie whining about his origins or looking for a soul-searching moment. Instead, it's more like, "Yeah, I'm a clone, now what?" He's more interested in surviving, finding purpose, and kicking ass. So right off the bat, the film subverts the usual clone trope. It's not all about existential dread, it's about action, wit, and the sheer will to exist beyond the labels placed on you. Then there's the setting. Most sci-fi films with alien landscapes lean heavily into the beautiful but dangerous territory, Think vast, colorful vistas that look stunning but can't be touched. Mickey 17 doesn't just give us an alien planet, it gives us a place that feels real, one where the environment itself is as much a threat as the creatures that inhabit it. There's no utopian paradise or vibrant alien ecosystem here. The landscape is hostile, cold, barren, like a character in itself. This choice shifts the tone of the movie away from the usual exploration of the unknown theme and turns it into a more survival-driven narrative. It's not just about discovering a new world, it's about fighting to survive in it. Action-wise, Mickey 17 doesn't just throw in random explosions or laser battles for the sake of spectacle. It's got its fair share of high-stakes moments, like tense, edge-of-your-seat sequences where Mickey faces off with both the environment and alien threats. But the film doesn't rely on pure action to carry the narrative. Instead, it balances those moments of tension with quieter, more intimate ones that get at the heart of the character's struggles. It's a smooth blend of suspense and action, with the stakes always feeling personal, not just global. There's an urgency to Mickey's mission, but it's not just about fighting the threats. It's about dealing with them in ways that challenge Mickey's identity, his worth, and his humanity. And let's not forget the humor. This isn't a film that drowns itself in grim-dark seriousness. Mickey, for all his flaws and struggles, has this dry, sardonic wit that shines through the chaos. It's not the jokey, forced humor of many blockbusters. It's more of a survival mechanism, a way to cope with the bleakness of his existence. When he cracks a sarcastic remark or delivers a deadpan line, it feels earned, not tacked on. This dark humor doesn't feel like it's breaking the tone. It enhances it, adding moments of levity where you might expect none, and it creates this beautifully awkward contrast between the high-stakes drama and Mickey's cynicism about the whole mess he's in. The drama, meanwhile, doesn't feel forced or melodramatic. It's grounded in Mickey's emotional journey. This isn't a story about saving the universe or fighting an evil overlord. It's a story about survival, self-worth, and finding meaning in an indifferent world. The film plays with the dramatic tension between the colony's cold, corporate agenda and Mickey's personal fight for survival, forcing you to confront how systems dehumanize people and the cost of progress. These layers add a depth to the story that goes beyond the typical action movie beats, making every conflict feel significant, both on a personal and philosophical level. Where Mickey 17 really shines is in how it weaves all of these elements together. It doesn't simply check off the typical genre boxes and call it a day. Instead, it twists the familiar, redefines the tropes, and balances the intense, suspenseful moments with quieter, thought-provoking scenes that keep you hooked. The action feels earned, the drama feels real, and the humor provides the perfect contrast to the existential weight the film carries. It takes the best parts of sci-fi and gives them a fresh spin, all while keeping you entertained and engaged from start to finish. This is a movie that knows what it's doing and knows exactly when to break the rules to make the experience even more unforgettable. When you step into the world of Mickey 17, you're not just getting a wild ride through alien landscapes and high-tech adventures. No, you're also diving into a rich pool of social and cultural commentary that might just make you pause and reflect for a second. The film cleverly weaves in themes that resonate with today's issues, and it does so without bashing you over the head with them. It feels natural, as if these topics belong right alongside the sci-fi spectacle, and that's what makes it so effective. First up, let's talk about the clone dilemma. At the heart of Mickey 17 is a question that feels straight out of our current societal struggles. What does it mean to be human? The whole clone aspect isn't just a sci-fi gimmick, it's a metaphor for how society treats those it sees as expendable or replaceable. Mickey isn't just a clone, he's a worker, a cog in a machine. He's created for a purpose, discarded when that purpose is no longer needed, and then replaced by another version of himself. Sound familiar? The film subtly critiques how systems, whether corporate, political, or social, treat individuals as mere tools, not as people with their own agency or worth. This idea is woven in so seamlessly that it's easy to miss, but it's there in every scene, from Mickey's reluctant acceptance of his fate to his quiet rebellion against it. Then there's the whole corporate exploitation angle. The film is set in a future where the colony's leaders aren't interested in the well-being of the people they send out to this alien world. They're more concerned with profits, resources, and control. There's a chillingly familiar commentary on how big corporations today prioritize money over the lives of workers, even when those workers are on the front lines, dealing with life-or-death situations. The harsh, almost indifferent tone of the colony's administration is a direct commentary on how some modern corporations treat their employees, especially in industries where workers are disposable. It's a pretty stark reflection of the way we often hear about the exploitation of low-wage or high-risk workers in our world today, except in Mickey 17, these workers are literally disposable clones, making the metaphor that much more pointed. And let's not overlook the environmental undercurrent running through the film. The alien world Mickey and his team land on is brutal, unforgiving, and clearly harmed by the human presence. There's this subtle yet powerful commentary on how humans, in their pursuit of resources, can wreak havoc on the environment. The barren, inhospitable landscape is a reminder of what unchecked exploitation can do, and the film doesn't shy away from showing the consequences. It's not just about surviving on this hostile planet, it's about how humanity's presence there is already doing damage, adding another layer to the ongoing conversation about climate change and environmental degradation. The film doesn't preach about it, but it makes you think about the long-term effects of human actions, both on Earth and in the farthest reaches of the galaxy. But where Mickey 17 really shines in its social commentary is in how it handles issues of identity, purpose, and individuality. In a world where clones are made to serve and then discarded, Mickey is forced to confront the meaning of his existence. Are clones just a product of technology, or do they have the same rights to self-determination and agency as anyone else? It's a question that goes beyond the science fiction world and touches on some deep, real-world concerns about autonomy, personhood, and how we define worth in our society. As Mickey struggles to carve out a sense of self in a world that sees him as disposable, it mirrors the experiences of many individuals who feel like they are just cogs in a larger, often indifferent system. The film doesn't just gloss over these issues. It lets them simmer and build, bringing in complex questions about humanity, power, and survival, all while keeping the plot moving at a thrilling pace. These social commentaries aren't shoved down your throat, they're part of the world the film creates. Mickey's journey is inherently tied to these issues, and the movie makes you care about them because it makes Mickey's struggle personal, not just a broad, abstract issue. When Mickey rebels against the system that created him, you don't just cheer for him because he's the hero. You cheer because he's standing up for something we all can relate to, the desire to be seen as more than just what others expect of you. In a way, Mickey 17 is like a funhouse mirror to our own world. It takes these bigger issues, corporate greed, environmental destruction, exploitation, identity, and reflects them back in a way that's both compelling and entertaining. It doesn't preach, it invites you to think. The film never feels heavy-handed, but rather lets the story speak for itself, drawing you into its world and leaving you with something to chew on long after the credits roll. Whether you're thinking about how we treat workers or how we interact with the environment, Mickey 17 keeps the conversation going, all while taking you on a wild, thrilling ride across the stars. Let's talk about how Mickey 17 connects with its audience. If you're thinking this is just a mindless action flick or a simple sci-fi adventure, think again. This movie is a roller coaster of emotions, and it knows exactly when to hit you with that gut punch or leave you grinning ear to ear. From the very first moments, it taps into something universal. That feeling of being alone, of fighting against odds that seem too big to overcome, and of finding a way to be more than what you're told you are. Mickey's journey isn't just physical, it's emotional, and as the audience you're right there with him, feeling every win, every setback, every bit of emotional weight he carries. There's this rawness in the film that gets under your skin. You're not just watching Mickey run from danger or navigate alien worlds, you're watching him struggle with his very identity. Is he just a copy? Is he worth anything more than being a disposable tool? It's impossible not to connect with that. At its core, Mickey 17 isn't just about surviving the alien threats, it's about surviving himself, and that hits in ways you wouldn't expect. You'll find yourself holding your breath during the tense moments, your heart racing right along with Mickey's as he makes choices that could change his future. And when he faces moments of vulnerability, whether it's an unexpected act of kindness or a painful realization, you'll feel it deep down. It's that perfect balance of action and emotional resonance that keeps you glued to the screen. Then there's the humor. The film's sharp wit isn't just for laughs, it serves as this emotional lifeline for Mickey. You'll find yourself laughing at some of his dry one-liners, but there's always an undercurrent of sadness behind them. Mickey cracks jokes to survive, to make light of the situation, but underneath all that humor is the truth that he's broken, and maybe even a little bit lost. These moments aren't just funny, they're layered. When he throws out a sarcastic remark, it's not just for comic relief, it's a window into his soul, his defense mechanism against the harsh world around him. These moments of levity provide just enough relief before the next emotional roller coaster, and when they land hard. The action scenes? Oh, they'll have your heart pounding too. The stakes feel real because they're tied to Mickey's personal journey. Every alien threat, every physical challenge, is not just a danger to Mickey's life. It's a reminder of the larger existential battle he's fighting. And that emotional investment makes each action-packed sequence so much more thrilling. You're not just watching explosions and laser fights for the sake of it, you're watching Mickey survive, fight, and claw his way through it, making you cheer for him every step of the way. But it's the quiet moments, the ones where Mickey questions his purpose, where he stands on the edge of giving up, or where he finds a fleeting connection with another character, that really make the film resonate. These are the moments that will stick with you long after you've left the theater. There's a weight to them that makes you reflect on your own life, your own purpose, and your own battles. These are the moments that'll have you texting your friends about it afterward, asking, "Did you catch that?" It's not the big spectacle that's going to have you talking. It's the small, quiet realizations and the emotional depth woven throughout. And let's be real, Mickey 17 is definitely one of those films that invites repeat viewings. The first time you see it, you'll be swept up in the action, the thrills, and the twists. But then you'll go back and start noticing the subtle things, the way the characters interact, the underlying themes that you might have missed, and the nuances in the dialogue that make you see the story in a different light. The emotional beats hit harder on the second watch, and the film's message becomes even more resonant as you peel back its layers. You'll find yourself picking up on details that didn't register the first time, and suddenly, everything feels a little richer, a little more complex. What's even better is how Mickey 17 sparks conversations. This isn't just a film you watch and forget. It's one you discuss, from the philosophical musings about identity and survival, to the deeper themes of exploitation and environmental collapse, to the personal journey Mickey undergoes. There's so much to unpack, and everyone will walk away with something different. It's the kind of movie that makes you think, makes you reflect, and makes you want to chat about it long after the credits roll. So whether it's debating Mickey's choices, analyzing the symbolism in the alien landscapes, or just laughing about some of the more absurd moments, the film lingers in your mind and invites discussion, which is exactly what you want from a movie that resonates this deeply. In the end, Mickey 17 doesn't just entertain, it makes you feel. It grabs hold of your emotions and never lets go, leaving you with plenty to think about, talk about, and revisit. Whether it's the action, the drama, or the humor, it all comes together to create a film that sticks. And isn't that the kind of movie that's worth watching again? When you take a step back and look at Mickey 17, you can't help but notice that it's a bit of a game changer in the sci-fi genre, but it also plays around with familiar beats. If you've watched films in the same genre, particularly ones that revolve around space exploration, clones, or high-stakes survival, you're going to recognize some of the hallmarks. But what sets Mickey 17 apart isn't just its plot or its setting. It's the unique spin it puts on these conventions. It's like a mashup of old-school sci-fi, a touch of existential philosophy, and a sprinkle of dark humor, all wrapped up in stunning visuals. It's not just another cookie-cutter space odyssey, though. It finds its way into new territory while giving a respectful nod to its predecessors. Let's talk about some of the obvious comparisons. If you've seen The Martian or Interstellar, you know the drill: humans in space, isolation, the looming sense of existential dread. Mickey 17 carries some of those same vibes, but it manages to add its own twist by focusing on the clone aspect. While films like The Martian rely on human ingenuity and wit to solve problems, Mickey's struggle isn't just about surviving, it's about what it means to exist. The clone element gives the movie a philosophical edge that's deeper than just surviving on a desolate planet. It's a meditation on identity, purpose, and what happens when you're made to be disposable. While The Martian had that intense, lone survivalist spirit, Mickey 17 throws in a whole layer of what it means to be human, even when you're not really you in the traditional sense. And if you're thinking of Blade Runner or Ex Machina with their intense explorations of what it means to be human in the face of artificial creation, you're on the right track. The difference here is that Mickey 17 uses its sci-fi setting to make those questions more urgent. Mickey isn't just pondering his existence for philosophical reasons. He's trying to make it through a deadly, unpredictable alien world while being hunted by his own identity. There's a gritty, survivalist tone that draws you in, but it's layered with this deep sense of what now? Blade Runner posed questions about humanity through artificial intelligence, while Mickey 17 goes a step further, asking whether a clone person has the same right to autonomy as a real person, especially when that clone has no say in being created or destroyed. It's as though the film says, we're going to answer that question but with lasers and aliens. Then there's the humor, which is where Mickey 17 really starts to shine when compared to other films in its genre. You might not expect a sci-fi film about clones and survival to have you laughing as much as this one does. But just like the best of dark humor in movies like Guardians of the Galaxy or Deadpool, Mickey's dry, sarcastic quips hit exactly when you need them. It's not a tone you often see in the genre, and it stands in stark contrast to the more serious, often bleak nature of other space-based films. The humor becomes a way for Mickey to cope with his existential crisis, making it feel less like a quirk and more like a defense mechanism. It's not just funny for the sake of it, it's clever and it adds this extra layer of complexity to Mickey's character. Now let's talk about the director's filmography. If you're familiar with the director's previous works, you'll see a lot of familiar themes. He's always had a knack for blending emotional depth with grand spectacle, and Mickey 17 is no exception. Like his earlier films, there's a deep focus on the human condition, and this movie digs into what happens when we're forced to confront our own limitations, survival instincts, and flaws. However, what Mickey 17 offers that is refreshingly new is the way it brings in the clone angle, while still maintaining that signature sense of scale and awe. The space setting here isn't just for show, it becomes a metaphor for the character's inner struggles. This director has always had a gift for making vast, world-altering scenarios feel personal, and in Mickey 17 he pulls that off in a way that feels intimate despite the cosmic scale of the story. In terms of structure, Mickey 17 definitely plays with genre conventions. It's not just about a space adventure where things blow up and people survive against all odds. Yes, it's action-packed, but it doesn't shy away from the philosophical. Where most sci-fi action films fall into the trap of giving you a simple hero's journey with some cool tech and alien monsters, Mickey 17 takes those elements and builds a much deeper emotional narrative. There's the survival aspect, but there's also the psychological toll that comes with being a clone, and that's where the film sets itself apart from more traditional space sagas. Instead of focusing on technology or grandiose planetary exploration, it focuses on the internal conflict of a character who is fighting not just for his life but for his very right to exist as an individual. In the end, Mickey 17 feels like a fresh breath of air in the sci-fi genre. It doesn't lean too heavily on the expected tropes of space movies, but it's not afraid to honor them either. It finds a way to weave the familiar elements into something new and thought-provoking. It's part high-tech survival, part deep psychological thriller, with enough wit and humor to keep things light even when the stakes are at their highest. So, while Mickey 17 may take cues from some of its predecessors, it stands out by bringing a whole new layer of depth, philosophy, and character exploration to the table, all while giving you the ride of a lifetime. Mickey 17 is a treasure trove of symbolism and metaphors that elevate it beyond just a typical sci-fi adventure. The movie is packed with hidden layers, each visual cue and recurring motif working tirelessly to deepen the storytelling and enrich the themes. As you watch, you start to notice that nothing is quite as straightforward as it seems, and that's where the true magic of the film lies. One of the most striking symbols in the movie is the concept of repetition and identity. Mickey, a clone, finds himself trapped in an endless cycle of rebirth, death, and resurrection. Every time he's reborn, there's this nagging question of whether he's the same person or just a copy, a mere echo of the original. This sense of repetition doesn't just haunt Mickey, it's woven into the very fabric of the film. You'll see it in the visual design, like the recurring motifs of identical structures, the eerie emptiness of the alien world, and the relentless ticking of the countdown clocks. These elements represent Mickey's perpetual struggle with his own identity, as well as the sense of being stuck in a loop, unable to break free. It's as though the film is constantly reminding us of how little control Mickey has over his own existence. And yet, despite all of that, there's this subtle but powerful message. He continues to fight, to survive, to be. Another key metaphor is the idea of the alien world itself. On the surface, it's an inhospitable, dangerous place, something that should be a threat to Mickey's survival. But if you look closer, the planet itself mirrors Mickey's inner journey. It's full of strange alien life forms, and yet, it's also a place of beauty and wonder, full of untapped potential. This speaks to the duality of Mickey's existence. Part of him is lost and abandoned, much like the planet. Yet, as he grows and changes, so does his relationship with this strange new world. It becomes less about escaping the planet and more about accepting it, just like Mickey's own journey of accepting who he is, even if he's not fully human in the traditional sense. The planet's harshness and beauty reflect the tension within him between survival and self-realization. One of the most subtle but powerful metaphors involves the clones. At first glance, you might think that the film is simply about a bunch of copies being created for a singular purpose, to do the dirty work in a hostile environment. But as the film progresses, you realize that the clones themselves are a metaphor for our society's views on individuality, labor, and worth. The clones are discarded when they're no longer useful, often replaced with new models. But Mickey, who's aware of his identity, refuses to accept this fate. He wants more than just being a tool. The clones represent not just the idea of human exploitation, but also the deeper question of whether someone's worth is defined by their function, their usefulness, or their very existence. This exploration of the value of life, whether artificially created or not, is central to the film's underlying theme. As you watch Mickey struggle, you're forced to ask yourself, if we all can be replaced, what does that mean for our sense of self? And then there's the mirrors, the literal and figurative reflections scattered throughout the film. Mickey is often shown staring into mirrors, questioning his own reflection and struggling with who he is. This is more than just a visual tool, it's a reflection of his inner turmoil. The mirrors represent the search for identity and the idea that the person staring back might not be the person he thinks he is. But there's something deeper here too. The mirror also reflects the duality of Mickey's existence as a clone. Is he just a replica or is he something more? The mirror's symbolism plays into the larger theme of self-actualization, showing that Mickey's journey isn't just about physical survival, it's about coming to terms with who he truly is beyond the surface. As for the recurring elements of destruction and rebirth, these are more than just plot devices. They tap into the idea of cycle and transformation. Every time Mickey faces death or danger, it's as if he's entering a new phase of his existence. The film uses these moments of crisis to reflect Mickey's emotional and psychological growth. Just as he's physically reborn, he's emotionally and mentally reborn as well. This pattern of destruction and regeneration mirrors the human experience of facing challenges and emerging stronger. It's an age-old narrative, but in Mickey 17, it's presented through the lens of a character who doesn't have the luxury of being born, in a traditional sense. He must make himself. Even the way the film presents time is a metaphor in itself. Time isn't linear for Mickey. It loops, shifts, and bends in strange ways. This fragmented perception of time serves as a reflection of Mickey's fractured sense of self. His existence is a series of moments, disjointed, repeated, and constantly at odds with his need for coherence. It's a brilliant metaphor for how memory and identity often feel out of sync, especially when you feel like you've been stripped of your individuality and placed into a larger, uncontrollable system. Finally, let's not forget the subtle use of light and darkness throughout the film. You'll notice that light often symbolizes hope or moments of clarity for Mickey, while darkness represents isolation and despair. But the film doesn't stick to these tropes rigidly. Sometimes the light is harsh and overwhelming, pushing Mickey into uncomfortable situations. Sometimes, darkness is where Mickey finds the most clarity and peace. This shifting dynamic between light and shadow adds a layer of depth to the film's thematic exploration of self-discovery, showing that neither light nor dark is purely good or bad. Both are necessary for Mickey's growth, just as both are necessary for our own understanding of who we are. All these visual and thematic elements come together to create a film that's rich in symbolism, inviting you to look beyond the surface. The planet, the clones, the mirrors, the time loops, all of it weaves into the larger narrative about survival, identity, and the question of what it truly means to be. Mickey 17 doesn't just tell a story, it challenges you to think, to dig deeper, and to uncover the hidden meanings within its world. It's a movie that asks you to question not just the world of the film, but the world around you too. When you dive into Mickey 17, you'll quickly realize it's part of a larger tapestry, a new entry in the growing genre of mind-bending sci-fi that explores existential themes with a fresh lens. While it's not tied to a pre-existing franchise, it carries echoes of earlier cinematic works that have explored similar realms, from Blade Runner to The Martian. In this way, Mickey 17 is both a continuation of and a response to these iconic sci-fi stories. The film builds on a foundation laid by its predecessors, offering a modern take on the exploration of humanity, clones, and identity, while also adding a fresh angle with its unique narrative structure. It doesn't just regurgitate old ideas. It asks deeper questions, creating a new space in the genre that makes you think, reflect, and feel. The notion of clones, space exploration, and survival has been tackled before, but Mickey 17 takes these ideas and deepens them. It flips the script on what it means to be human, or real, in a world where technology and biology are constantly in flux. As a result, this film feels like a spiritual successor to those earlier classics, capturing the essence of those explorations while bringing its own unique voice to the table. There's also the layer of how Mickey 17 connects with modern sci-fi culture. The film isn't just another spacefaring adventure. It's a critical commentary on the genre itself, playing with its tropes, offering an introspective twist, and pushing the boundaries of what we expect from a futuristic narrative. It's as though the film looks at the history of sci-fi, acknowledges its conventions, and then takes those conventions apart piece by piece, offering something that's both familiar and new. The cloning concept, for example, isn't new. We've seen it in everything from The Prestige to Westworld, but here it's explored in a way that's not just about the technology, but about the psychological toll of being reduced to a number, a mere product to be used and discarded. The entire genre's obsession with questions of life and identity finds its new canvas in Mickey 17, making it an important piece of the ongoing conversation in science fiction cinema. If you take the historical context of sci-fi itself, a genre that has long explored themes of identity, technology, and the human spirit, Mickey 17 is a natural evolution. It taps into the lineage of films that explore what it means to exist in a rapidly changing world, much like 2001, A Space Odyssey or Gattaca. The historical roots of sci-fi as a genre have always been tied to our anxieties about the future, and Mickey 17 capitalizes on this, using its narrative to interrogate our current technological trajectory. It's a timely exploration of what it means to be human in an age of technological advancement, where bioengineering, artificial intelligence, and the idea of cloning are no longer relegated to the realm of science fiction but are fast becoming our reality. At the same time, Mickey 17 doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It's a reflection of the broader cultural and technological moment we're living through. The rise of AI, the ethical questions surrounding genetic engineering, and the increasing use of clones and synthetic biology all find their way into the film's core. In this way, Mickey 17 feels not just like a product of the sci-fi genre, but also a product of its time, grappling with the very questions that are shaping our future, whether we like it or not. What's most compelling is how Mickey 17 doesn't just nod to historical contexts and past works in the genre. It also actively shapes the conversation moving forward. It expands on the established tropes and ideas, introducing fresh concepts that will likely influence the next wave of sci-fi films. It's as if it stands at the crossroads of what sci-fi has been and what it's going to become, blending the old with the new in a way that keeps the genre alive and vibrant. So, while Mickey 17 might not be a direct continuation of a long-running franchise or historical saga, it definitely draws from the vast history of sci-fi and brings something new to the table. It reflects the ongoing evolution of the genre while adding its own distinct voice to the conversation. It's not just a continuation of themes, it's an expansion, a reinvention, and perhaps even a bold redefinition of what sci-fi can be in the modern age. When you look at Mickey 17, the first thing that stands out is how the budget directly ties into the film's grand scale and breathtaking production quality. This is a movie that goes big in every way, from its visually stunning set designs to its mind-bending special effects, to the immersive world building. And yes, this kind of cinematic spectacle doesn't come cheap. But when you look at the final product, you can see every penny spent on screen. The budget was definitely hefty, and it was clear that the filmmakers weren't shy about pouring resources into creating a visually rich and emotionally complex sci-fi epic. The film's production quality is top-notch, with sleek, futuristic technology, alien landscapes, and cutting-edge visual effects that have set a new bar for the genre. The blend of practical and digital effects gives the world an authenticity that makes the impossible feel believable. So, when you compare the budget to the production value, it's like watching your investment pay off in the best possible way. The quality of the visual effects, cinematography, and set design all speak to the film's financial commitment to delivering something that's visually compelling and immersive. It's clear that no shortcuts were taken. Everything from the alien world to the character designs is meticulously crafted to transport audiences into a whole new reality. As for its box office performance, Mickey 17 had a bit of an interesting trajectory. With a large, star-studded cast, heavy marketing, and the immense anticipation surrounding the film, it had all the ingredients to be a box office hit. However, the financial success wasn't immediate. Sci-fi films, especially ones with complex narratives like Mickey 17, often face challenges in attracting a wide audience right out of the gate. The film's abstract themes, the philosophical undertones, and its layered storytelling approach meant that some casual moviegoers might have been a little confused or put off by the more cerebral aspects of the plot. This can often result in a slower start at the box office, especially for films that require more intellectual engagement. But the real financial impact came as the word-of-mouth spread and the film gained momentum with repeat viewers and a dedicated fanbase. The audience reception grew, especially among sci-fi lovers and those craving something more substantial than just action-packed sequences. It wasn't just the film's themes that sparked interest. The marketing campaign played a huge role in getting the word out. The film was cleverly marketed to build intrigue around its high-concept premise and stunning visual effects. Trailers teased just enough of the mystery without giving too much away, making people curious about how the film would unfold. This built anticipation, especially within the sci-fi community, which helped it maintain strong ticket sales over time, despite some initial hesitancy from broader audiences. Social media and online buzz also worked in the film's favor, as discussions about its deep themes and complex character development led to heightened engagement. The film found a devoted following that appreciated its intellectual depth, which in turn boosted its financial performance. And let's not forget the critical reception. Positive reviews, especially around the film's ambitious storytelling, visual effects, and overall production quality, helped bolster its reputation, particularly in the second and third weeks of release. This type of reception often leads to sustained box office returns as more people decide to see it based on glowing reviews from others. The film's ability to blend deep philosophical questions with action-packed sequences also helped balance the interests of a broader audience, keeping the box office numbers strong. In the end, while Mickey 17 may not have been a runaway blockbuster in the traditional sense, it definitely didn't underperform either. It had a healthy run at the box office, particularly in markets where audiences appreciate more thoughtful sci-fi films. The financial success of the movie is, therefore, a product of a combination of high production value, strategic marketing, and the slow but steady growth of its fanbase. And as more people discover it, thanks to word of mouth and streaming, its overall financial impact will likely continue to rise, proving that Mickey 17 was a wise investment in more ways than one. If you're eager to dive into the world of Mickey 17 and experience its mind-bending visuals and complex narrative, you're in for a treat. The film has been strategically released in theaters first, allowing audiences to witness its grand scope and stunning effects on the big screen. If you're the type who loves the thrill of a cinema experience, the surround sound, the immersive visuals, the collective gasp of the audience, then watching Mickey 17 in theaters is the way to go. There's something special about seeing a film this large and ambitious unfold in a dark theater, where every detail and every subtle visual cue can really hit home. If you've got a local IMAX theater nearby, even better. The larger-than-life format enhances the movie's intense visuals and adds to the feeling of being lost in a far-flung universe. However, if catching it in theaters isn't an option or you prefer a more intimate setting, don't worry, the film's availability will soon expand to digital platforms. Streaming services are always a solid option for those who prefer the comfort of their own home. Whether it's on a major service like Netflix, Amazon Prime, or another platform, Mickey 17 is bound to make its digital debut shortly after the theatrical run. Streaming gives you the flexibility to pause, rewatch key scenes, and dive deeper into the layers of meaning and symbolism that might be hard to catch on the first viewing. Plus, with the growing popularity of home theaters, the experience of watching it at home with a solid setup could rival that of the cinema, especially if you've got a high-quality sound system and a large screen. For those of you who can't wait and want immediate access, digital rental might be your best bet. Within weeks of its theatrical release, Mickey 17 will likely be available for rent on platforms like iTunes, Google Play, or Vudu. Renting allows you to enjoy the film at your own pace, and since it's available for a set period, you can savor the film without the pressure of a theater schedule. But if you're looking to really appreciate Mickey 17 in its full glory, the theatrical experience remains the gold standard. The director's vision, the visual effects, and the sound design were all crafted with the big screen in mind. Seeing it in a theater, especially one with top-tier sound and visual technology, will give you the fullest impact. That awe-inspiring moment when the film's vast world opens up, or when a key emotional beat hits, will be amplified in a way that watching it at home, no matter how large your TV is, just can't replicate. It's the kind of film that begs to be seen in the most immersive environment possible, and nothing beats the cinema for that. So, whether you're sitting in the front row of a packed theater or chilling on your couch with a streaming service at your fingertips, Mickey 17 will deliver an unforgettable experience. However, if you want to feel that sense of awe and wonder, there's no better way to enjoy it than the theater, where the world of Mickey 17 can truly come to life around you.